just, I don't know. I'm just so tired of all the politics. It's all I hear anymore.
And especially in movies.
And especially in movies. Oh, and then they're throwing political agendas in every movie.
Yeah.
That bothers the crap out of me, too. No, anyway, but back to Deadpool. But yeah, I'm super excited for this movie. I have no idea what to expect. You know, it had a great...
I think that's kind of the point.
Oh, it is. It had a great trailer, but it really didn't tell you...
anything.
Nothing at all. It told you that he was back as Deadpool.
That's it.
And that was about it. Like, pretty much the characters that were in the other movie are in this one.
That's good.
Like, his girlfriend is still there. His buddy that was like a bartender is there. And he's riding in a cab with a dude. That's all you know.
That's good to me.
But Deadpool in a cab just doing nothing would be funny. So...
It's like comedians in cars getting coffee.
I love that. I love that show on Netflix. Oh. But, I mean, Jerry Seinfeld is a genius. You know what I mean? Because that was his idea.
Yep.
It was his idea, you know, and he's very funny. He thought it... I love that man.
I love that man.
I love that man. Yeah, so if you have any comments on our Deadpool discussion, anything you want to add, you can always message me. And I really want to hear your thoughts on this topic. How excited are you for the movie? So, speaking of movies in general, because, you know, it's Movie Madness Monday.
Yes.
I found out something when I was doing some research for the show that, I mean, it kind of surprised me, but I kind of agree with.
Yeah, what's that?
It's Steven Spielberg actually hates that Netflix is like the Netflix original movies are eligible for the Oscars.
Why is that? Just because? Is it because he doesn't think that they're, you know, similar or not good enough, or? No,
well, what it is it's so for you have the Emmys for TV and you have the Oscars for movies.
Yeah.
And his kind of theory on it is the fact that just because a few of the Netflix originals played in a select few theaters, that makes them eligible.
Yeah.
Not to mention, you know, and he kind of said, you know, there have been TV networks who have taken a took a stab at movies, and they're not in the Oscars. You know, you start out with series, then you're a TV movie. You're not, you know, a straight from Hollywood and box office hit. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I can kind of agree with. I can kind of see where he's coming from.
Yeah, I mean, it does sound almost a little elitist, but I do kind of agree with him, especially.
Well, it's kind of like if you have a movie on Hallmark.
Yeah.
You know, you have a Hallmark movie. They never hit theaters.
No, because they're not good enough. That's part of the reason, and which is funny because.
But that's Netflix is the same way.
That's what I'm about to say is that Netflix has been criticized a lot of times for just making crap. Like, like South Park made fun of him. Like South Park contributed a whole entire episode one time
to Netflix.
And it was like, and it was they always called because they had like the kids had a movie idea for Netflix or whatever, right?
Right.
And the Netflix has hello Netflix, you're greenlighted, which in Hollywood term, or like in movie terms, means good to go.
Right.
Right, so it's basically saying Netflix is looking for anything, and if you don't just go for like popular, like for instance, I've been watching Cheers, like the old comedy, the old sitcom,
right?
Season 10 right now, so I'm almost done with it. But if you go past like the very popular things, like when Gilmore Girls first popped up on Netflix, right? If you go past all the super popular things everyone already knows,
right?
Kind of shows, and you get to the things that Netflix has made besides some of their stand-up specials, because quite a few of them suck. Netflix movies aren't great.
No, I haven't found a Netflix movie I like. I found a few series which I'm mad that they can't. Like there was one called Girl Boss.
Yeah.
That I thought was actually pretty good. It was talking about a girl, who came up with her. She actually started her own
company.
Yeah, it was her own like clothing company.
Okay.
But it was going through, but it wasn't a clean, you know, a goody two shoes girl. You know, she cussed, she swore, she drank, she smoked. You know,
Yeah, she did a lot of stuff.
she did a lot. But they canceled it after one season, and I'm like, I want to know what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
You know, I was hooked.
Well, you know the reason a lot like the one was it the one really popular like Sense8. Remember Sense8?
No.
It was super popular on Netflix. Especially with a lot of LGBT audiences. It had 2 seasons and then it got canceled. And everyone was like, "Why? Why? We want to know what happens." And Netflix was like, "Low viewership and it was way too expensive." It's like, yeah, there's a reason it's low viewership, because no one wants to watch some of your crappy shows. Like I watched the first episode just to see what it was like.
Right.
I'm like, this is dumb. Like the whole premise is that these 8 people that are connected like mentally around the world, and there's more than one group. There's like multiple groups of 8.
Right.
And it's just like, and like someone's trying to get, and so they all have their own lives and their own sub stories. And it's just like this just sounds confusing. Why are 8 people mentally linked? And I'm sure it explained it.
Black Mirror is really good though.
I haven't seen Black Mirror.
Ooh. It's like a Twilight Zone.
Okay.
So it's like super messed up, but
Yeah.
other ones are really like, it's just good, and it doesn't go in any order. You can watch them. Actually, the episodes are numbered backwards.
Oh wow.
So they end in 1. The season
Yeah.
ends in 1.
So, but yeah, it's like stuff like that. But the biggest reason for that show getting cut was it was way too expensive. It cost like for example, right? Netflix makes a lot of money, but it still costs. I think I want to say it was like I gotta look it up real quick. But the cost for making Sense8 was just astronomical especially for a Netflix movie.
Right.
Let's see here. To put the cost in perspective, here's a quick comparison. This is from Polygon.com.
Okay.
To put the cost in perspective, here's a quick comparison. Experts estimated that Sense8 was costing Netflix $9 million an episode. Game of Thrones, HBO's biggest series and one of its most successful, costs approximately $6 an episode. And here's the difference. You pay a buttload for HBO, you get good shows from HBO. You get good writers, you get good casting, you get good directors.
Right.
From Netflix, you pay $10 a month. They sink it all into one thing, and they still can't get it right.
Right.
Right. And part of the thing was, and the title for that article, if you guys are looking for it, if you end up going looking, it was made back in June of 2017. Is Sense8 was too expensive for too small of an audience. Netflix chief says so. A big wig at Netflix is like way too much money, and it's a lot of here. Let's see. So not only does HBO series cost $3 million less an episode to make, but it has become a cultural phenomenon. It is the most watched show on the network with 8.9 million viewers for the 6th season finale alone. And it garners awards every season. And so that goes to show you is that 9 million people
Right.
are going to watch Game of Thrones. And then how many people are going to go back and watch it if they haven't seen it already? Right?
Right.
So if it takes $6 million to make and at least 9 million people to watch it, how in the hole is Netflix from the Sense8 series? You know, how many people are actually watching? So that makes it sound like, okay, they're spending $3 million more an episode, and probably raking in maybe 1 million viewers, 2 million viewers.
Right.
You know, that's what it kind of sounds like. So Netflix that's why I can kind of agree with Spielberg, is that, you know, it's just kitschy, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm scrolling through a list of kind of the top of, well, it's a list of every single Netflix movie, and it's ranked by, you know, how popular it was and all that. and I don't even know half of these. I knew a few, like I watched XOXO, which I don't think was that bad. It wasn't great, but it wasn't that bad. But I don't know half of these. There was quite a few Adam Sandler ones.
And that's part of the other issue.
Well, and they did like Pee-wee's Big Holiday. Nobody cares about Pee-wee Herman anymore. Nobody cared about him when he was original.
I mean, that should kind of tell you, like, look at the majority of these movies. No one wants to see them, right? Like these.
I mean, I want to see Sandy Wexler, and that one's number 41 on this list. So it's kind of in the back. It's a little bit more popular. And I'm trying to remember what the percentage stands for.
Okay, let me, or even worse, Netflix has a terrible time taking things that are already existing. They've only done well with one series where they took it and made it and finished it off right.
Like, we're talking a series now?
Yeah, well, it's just because there's not a whole lot of movies that they take.
Right.
Right.
I feel like there's two that did pretty well.
What's yours?
Well, you've got Gilmore Girls,
No, I mean, like, they took it from another... They took it from something that was already playing and added their own and made a Netflix show after the other show.
Yeah. The new Gilmore Girls was a Netflix.
Okay.
There's a new one. They took them and they said several years later. Those ones were really good. I just finished them out. They were, at least I think that they were Netflix original.
Was that and then Parks and Rec?
That was the other one I was going to say.
Parks and Rec for me.
I was going to say Fuller House was pretty.
I hadn't seen it. I didn't really watch Full House, and Fuller House just looked like more of...
I watched Full House, and Fuller House isn't that bad. It's still, kind of got the same...
vibe.
It's got the same vibe. It's a little bit funnier. Like, it's a little bit more up to date.
I would hope so. I hope they're not making 80s references.
I mean, they're making they make references to the old show.
Okay.
Like the first episode, they made a reference of, Michelle is off in Hollywood, being her schedule's too busy, and the cast just stops and stares at the camera, because that's really what happened with. But that's really what happened with Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen. They were way too busy, and one of them didn't want to act anymore. So they said, if we had the time for it, she said, I'd have to be the one to do it because,
More importantly, what are you going to do? They're twins. They're adult twins now. You're not going to switch them out back and forth like you did when they were kids.
No, and I mean, but it was funny because they just made a reference because everybody knew that's why they weren't on there.
Yeah.
So the fact that the first episode they just stopped. They just kind of messed around with them for a bit, and they did say they have talked to them. They are all good friends. They're still good friends with the Olsen twins.
Yeah.
So that's why they threw that joke in there. Is just kind of like, yeah, she's too busy with Fashion Week, and then they all just stopped and stared at the camera. So I mean, it's like they're fun jokes.
Yeah.
But they made it more modern. They made it I don't know. I guess they made it better for people.
Maybe.
And then you've got kind of it's. Because before you had 3 guys, now you've got 3 girls living in.
You flipped it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, which.
But you've got Kimmy Gibbler living in the house.
Yeah. But the reason I say it is because there's an ad, for those of you who don't watch anime. I don't watch anime too often myself. But there's a very popular one called
Death Note.
Yep. Yeah. Netflix made a movie. They didn't make a series. They took the series and they made it into a movie. And it did terribly.
Yeah.
Everyone who loved the series said they hated the movie because the movie was nothing like the series. So that's why I say Netflix, with the exception of apparently Gilmore Girls and
Fuller
House and Parks and Rec, and then there's one more that my mom and dad really like. It's called Longmire. It's like a western,
right?
Like up to like current day western kind of crime drama. So 4 out of X amount of stuff that they've taken off of everybody else, doesn't really make sense to me. Like why are you stealing people's ideas and trying to take their ideas and then not doing it well?
Right.
So we're talking about how many films that they have that no one's heard of.
Richie Rich was really bad too.
Was
that
it?
was a series that they
Yeah.
did.
Because it was an old